And welcome to another episode of the Fantastic Silver Scraps with our lovely guests. Me, the Leper Koopa. Over there is the Bickle. Nope, that way. If I point, I gotta point that right way. The Bickle.
Oh,
And then over there is the Arcs. The Arcs Knight.
wait, am I pointing the right
You
way?
are, in fact, pointing the right way. No, you're not. You'd have to point it yourself.
Oh.
You're on the right.
Oh, no,
You're
I
on the
was trying to
right.
point to
I'm
you.
on the left. Bickle's in the middle. So.
Yay, center.
Dabbing is not. That's not a thing the kids do anymore, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, shoot.
Oh,
What are kids into now these days?
I
TikTok?
I have
Gritty, like, are we gonna get up
no
and, like-
idea. I am way too old for that. But anyway, we are here to talk about some teams and some things. Power rankings are great and all, and things have kind of aired out. We've got a few teams, I believe, that have essentially clinched playoffs. Essentially, from the way we look, it's week 4. If you have won 4 games, you make playoffs. It's really hard for you not to make the top 4 at that point. So,
if my math is right, Revolution X, TD Syndicate, and Tenebris Esports Aeon have all clinched playoffs.
now we're gonna.
If my math
This is
right.
unofficial. We can't. BOL is ultimately going to be the one that makes that determination. We are not involved in that. You know what I mean? But from where we sit, in that same token, it looks like Iconic is almost eliminated, or it's just completely out of their control.
I think it's out of their control, but they're not eliminated yet.
Okay. It's not impossible.
It's not impossible. Crazier things have happened.
I have seen VBU go from 10th place to winning the entire league in ZGG. So, I have seen that happen.
That's called roster changes.
No, that's called getting caught with a Smurf and running the gauntlet.
That works too.
And then the team losing in finals to a team with a Smurf, so you win because that win is invalidated.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was a crazy season of shit.
2 Smurfs. 2 Smurfs in the finals?
No, only one. VBU in that circumstance had replaced, before their Smurf had been figured out as a Smurf, they had replaced the Smurf.
Nice.
Very interesting thing. So they, even though they lost all their wins and went down to 10th place, they didn't have to revamp the roster. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about what teams need to do to make sure we have make sure what teams need to do to make playoffs. It's just top 4, right? So we're not going to be talking about the teams that have made playoffs. So we're not going to be talking about Revolution X. We're not going to be talking about the TD Syndicate. And we're not going to be talking about Tenebris Esports Aeon. We also are not going to be talking about Glacial Academy. They had 2 players rank out, so who knows if they're even going to be here. And it's just the same thing. I can insert the same thing that we said on the last episode. What is Glacial going to do? We don't know if they're going to have a roster. How many E-subs are they going to have this week? Are they even going to play? We can keep repeating that probably for the rest of the split, unfortunately. Because, the Phallic Phenom in particular is a great player. So, we can see. So, let's talk briefly about Iconic, because they are the most likely to be eliminated. They are the only team that has lost 4 games. And in the same way that you have 4 wins basically guarantees you playoffs, because you're only playing 6 games. 4 losses kind of makes it very, very difficult to get out. Is that
What are the situations in which Iconic can make playoffs?
All right, so there are a total possibility, assuming every game is a 50-50 and every series has the potential to be either a 2-0 or a 2-1 for both directions. Yep. That leaves us with a potential of 262,145 situations.
Okay, that's a lot.
That's excluding forfeits. If you forfeit, I'm going to be mad because that screws up all the math I did.
Bickle has been doing math
and
for
yes,
like the past all
I made a
spreadsheet
of every possible situation. It's not 100% perfect because it gets a bit wonky with some tiebreakers occasionally. But yeah, right now, Revolution X and Snack Bears both sit at 100%. They're locked into playoffs. Iconic has a 1.7% chance to make playoffs.
Okay.
So out of all 200,000, they make it in 4,000.
Okay, so basically, I'm not even sure. Like, I'm having a difficulty. So basically, I'm guessing that
Let me find one of their situations where they.
Because I would guess that they're pretty similar because Whooper Academy, Revolution Anarchy, and Hyperion Galaxy are all 1-2. So it's going to be variations on those teams losing to each other in a particular way.
Yep. That's actually a 3-way tiebreak. That's annoying. That's broken. I'll fix that later. Their odds actually may be worse than this, depending on how tiebreakers work.
Right. For assumptions here, what BOL staff has said about tiebreakers is series wins over points over head-to-head.
Yep. Actually.
Well, Bickle's looking at that. What I want to talk about is actually mechanically, because I assume that, well, not even assume, it has to be. For Iconic to have a chance, they have to win their last 2 games. There is no other way that they can make it in if they drop any more games. And I would even go further and to say that like they need to 2-0 in order to have that happen. From where I've sit, having played them, having watched them, they need to get something rolling and get momentum in their favor more consistently. And I don't necessarily know the best way to do it. I would say mid-jungle, right? That you need to get the Merit Lodge rolling, get him ahead with his champions that do have the ability to play tempo, that do have the ability to skirmish quite well and take over the game.
I'm just looking at this now. I think Iconic is actually oh wait, no, because points come before head-to-head. Right. Forgot about it. Okay, if it was head-to-head, they'd be in trouble. But they can get points, which would put them in what situation? All right. I can try and find one now, because now tiebreakers may actually go in their favor, depending.
So they have to play for tiebreakers, which means somebody else has to have it.
There's no way they clinch without a tiebreaker.
So that means that also two people have to hit 2 and 4, which is possible, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be 4 teams at 2 and 4,
which is possible
for them to have a chance.
So,
actually, wait, is that right?
No, we need to be 3 teams at 2.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. They just need to hit 2 and 4, and the 4th place team needs to also be 2 and 4. Yep. So one of Whooper Academy, Revolution Anarchy, and Hyperion Galaxy would need to drop all their games. So let's say Whooper Academy, because they're the highest up, so they go 0-2.
Yep.
I mean, they go 0-3. They lose everything. They end 1 and 5. They're eliminated. Yep. Let's say Anarchy goes. Okay, so
Anarchy goes 2-4, right? Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Basically, they have to win 2. So we're
basically Anarchy goes 2-4 with a bunch of 2-1s and 0-2s, whereas Iconic goes 2-0s because the points you get for a 2-0 is worth more than the points you get for a 2-1.
Yes. Okay, so what we're going to talk about briefly, Bickle. I know we've got the map. How does Iconic win their last 2 games?
Hopes and prayers.
Okay.
Who do they play? Oh wait, I just checked. They play a bye week.
They play Goon Squad Gaming. They play
Snack Bears.
Snack Bears.
That's rough.
They're
I think that the best move for Iconic is to play through your jungler and have your jungler buy time for your mid and your AD carry to scale into the game. I think that's the best game plan that you have.
And this is going to be really hard because don't Snack Bears and GSG Iota
both have really good mid jungler. Mid jungler. Yep. It's a really, really hard spot for them. But we're gonna move on. Unfortunately, Iconic, love you guys. You're great people. I have enjoyed playing with every single one of you on the team I have played with. I have enjoyed playing with you greatly. It's just the odds are against you. Okay. You said Sunset Ravens has basically clinched.
Sunset has clinched.
They are
100%.
Briefly about Sunset Ravens, they have been overlooked.
Oh, wait, hold on. Actually, I think they're at like 97%.
They would have to drop all 3 of their games at this point.
It would have to be a really wonky situation.
This is a great team. But like, legitimately.
So they are at 99%.
They would have to lose 0-2 for every game.
They'd need to lose 0-2 for every game. There need to be specific situations where everybody around them like it would have to be.
Yeah, they just 2-0'd Iota, and it is and they have 2-1 to Anarchy. The only one they have not yet played of the other contenders is Whooper Academy.
Basically, Sunset Ravens would need to end 3-3 with 2 0-2 losses. Rev or Hyperion would need to end at 4-2.
Yep.
Whooper Academy would need to end 3-3 with a head-to-head plus points over them. And Iota and X finish above them in general.
Yeah.
It's a really wonky situation, but they have a 99.5% chance, excluding tiebreaker situations.
Really solid team. And I think that one thing that can be said for Sunset Ravens from my time playing against them is that they are mentally resilient, and they are really good at resetting after tough losses and are really able to take control of these series. SNC Grim has really not been talked about, but he's a fantastic mid laner, and SNC Big is also a really fantastic jungler. I cannot sit here and discount that. But unfortunately, not the topic of today. So that leaves 4 teams, right?
Yes.
Realistically here, that we're going to be talking about in Piltover. GSG Iota, probably the easiest lock for playoffs, right? From this point.
So, with the 4 remaining teams, GSG Iota has an 81% chance of locking playoffs.
Okay.
Whooper Academy has a 66% chance of locking Academy. Revolution Anarchy has a 53% chance, and Hyperion Galaxy has a 19% chance. These aren't exact because there's some finicky points in there regarding tiebreakers that I don't have the formula worked out for. I'll try and work that out and then post the actual odds, probably in BOL group chat so people can see it. But those are the odds, give or take.
Yeah. So Iota, I think it's not a really far stretch thing. They just need to keep doing what they've been doing, right? Like, their only loss so far has been to Sunset Ravens, and it was really a lot of issues with the bot lane, from what it seems. But overall, just sometimes you have bad days, you know. I think if Iota just continues doing what has worked for them all split, they're going to be an easy lock. Does anybody have a disagreement or a comment on that?
They'll be fine.
Yeah.
On GSG Iota? No.
Yeah. So that brings us to, we'll go to the opposite end. What does Hyperion Galaxy need to do, like, on the Rift to win their remaining games? Because for them, if they drop one more game, they're done. A 19% chance based on your math. If they drop another week, they hit four losses, and it's just kind of done.
Yeah, they hit 1 and 3, and because of their point total, they're in a rough situation. Because even in their one win they've had, it was a 1-2, and every other time they've gotten 2-0'd. Right. So they're in a very rough situation overall. What they really need to do, I feel, is prioritize playing around the strong point of their map, which it seems to be their bot lane.
That makes perfect sense, right? Like, one of the things for all of these teams is, like, if you can identify what happens and what allows you to win, that's what you have to play towards, right? Like, we have won by having X, Y, Z conditions. What do we need to do to make X, Y, Z conditions occur?
They have to beat both Wooper and Anarchy for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes, that three-way will really decide, because theoretically we're looking at as RevX, Sunset Ravens, and IOTA are going to make it. And then that clump of Wooper Academy, Revolution Anarchy, and Hyperion Galaxy all play each other within the last 3 weeks. They all face each other.
Those three teams.
Wooper plays Rev Anarchy and Hyperion. Anarchy plays a Wooper and Galaxy. Galaxy plays Wooper and Rev. Those are going to be the important games. I think likely whoever comes out with a 2-0 there should be really favored.
So for Wooper Academy, what do they need to do in game to win these games?
Funny enough, I think the strategy for Wooper Academy, Revolution Anarchy, and Hyperion Galaxy are all basically the same, which is play around your strong point, which is your AD carry. You have Asian Soul Slayer, you have Valor has Ego, and you have Baron Zappelli, who have all had extremely phenomenal, multiple double-digit kill sessions, laning advantages, and just playing well through the bot lane. So it's really going to be interesting to see how they all match up against each other. I guess
this is a question. So between those three, would you say that then it's not who has the stronger top side that's going to give them an advantage, and that improving the top side would be better? Or do you think doubling down on the win condition would be better?
Doubling down on the win condition. I think in terms of strength of schedule, I believe Anarchy has the best chance to make playoffs based on strength of schedule, because Wooper plays Sunset Ravens, Hyperion
Wooper plays Sunset, Anarchy plays IOTA, Galaxy plays X. Yep. They've all played IOTA already, and they've all played 2 of the top teams already.
All of them have played 2 of the top 3 and have 1 remaining and each other. None of them have their bye remaining. So we really won't know who's 4th place until the final week here.
Most likely.
Yeah.
It would be interesting with the Rev X IOTA game, or the Rev Anarchy game versus IOTA being in week 9. If that's the final determination, that would be hype from an analytical perspective. From a player perspective, I would be shitting my pants.
Yeah. And then you have Hyperion and Wooper playing in week 7 as well.
So this will be interesting. And I personally feel like, from my perspective, right, when you're playing these other teams, it might be good to think about, okay, where are we losing on the top side of the map? Is the top side of the map an issue? Because it might come down to, is this an example, right? If Wooper Academy is dominating in top and mid against Hyperion Galaxy, there really isn't a lot for Baron Zeppeli to do.
Yeah.
But everybody can make it, except Iconic has the hardest time. Hyperion Galaxy has the next hardest time.
Yes.
This is a brutal format. I just need to say that. This is an 7 weeks, 6 games. Is absolutely brutal.
I will reiterate what I said earlier, which is I think that any of Wooper, Rev, and Hyperion would make playoffs if they were in Zon.
I could go in further and say that those 3 teams would be competitive with the top teams in other leagues.
I personally think Zon has the best mid laners. However, I think Piltover has the best top laners and junglers.
And AD carries.
AD carry is...
I think AD carry will... I think AD carries depend.
Well, that brings us to over to Zon, okay? Glacial Academy functionally eliminated just because of FFs.
They haven't FF'd yet.
They have 8 points.
They FF'd 1 series, They have another one. And then they're up.
Right. But I don't mean it in that sense, but I meant they're functionally eliminated here. They're 0-3 with an FF. You're going to have to win 3 games to do that, and you have an incomplete roster.
They do have a...
So with TD Syndicate and Tenebris Esports Aeon actually having clinched, from Bickle's math.
Yes.
I
think that is not even from my math. They're
4-0. They're 4-0. They can't.
Yeah, they're 4-0. Fifth place is 1-3. The best finish fifth place can get is 3-3.
Right.
There's no way they can pass either of the 4-0 teams.
Right. So that basically leaves us 3 teams for 2 places, or 4 teams for 2 places, right? Subatomic Gaming Antimatter, which from my perspective is probably the most likely third team here. They got blown out by TD Syndicate, but at the same time, who hasn't gotten blown out by TD Syndicate?
Not GSG site yet.
Well, they haven't played.
They don't play
so yeah.
Word is yet.
Well, here's the thing though. The week 7, we'll get to that actually. That week 7 matchup might not even matter.
Right. It might not. Subatomic Gaming Antimatter has, I think, probably the next strongest roster to those two. They're 2-1 currently, right? They might possibly get the 4 wins necessary to clinch. Like, I think that's a realistic thing to say here. Unlike a lot of the teams that we were just talking about in Piltover, their win condition here is their top 7, particularly Itami and GG Jack. If you continue to keep playing through that top side, I don't think that there's going to be any issues, barring some unforeseen problems that might occur. So that brings us to the last 3. So let's talk about Feed the Dream. Feed the Dream, if you haven't seen, is making some roster changes. TSF Royal is going to be playing top lane, and Tame is going to sub.
Which is interesting, because I don't know how Royal is as a top laner.
I don't know either. I think it's hard for me to sit here and say, and I haven't spent the most time watching these games, of what Feed the Dream needs to do in order to win their last 3 games. If they win the last 3 games, it's realistic that they are going to make it into playoffs. It might come down to tiebreakers. But go on.
What's crazy is that, like, the GSG Psy series they just played, where they lost 2-0, Tamed wasn't the issue. It was the bot lane. Like, Kingler actually, like, carried the games.
I didn't watch the series, so I can't sit there and say it. Like, I know that Tame is just kind of burnt out, but that is what it is.
Understandable.
So I think from what you're saying, it's like being stable and playing towards team fights is possibly something that they need to do. Unfortunately, I don't think that there's a very, very clear answer here.
I think Puffin's great. Like, I love Puffin. I think if Chubby could get, another champion or 2 in his pool that isn't just team fight tank, like, get, something better. Like, if he gets better with Trundle, or if he gets, like, better with Fiddlesticks, I know that's something he has been playing a lot lately. Like, he can help swing these games into their advantage. But until he gets better with those specific champions in the jungle, like, I feel like they're just going to keep struggling, because he has to play. He ends up playing champions that are very team fight oriented. But if that's all he can do, and then, Ghost Machine is, not carrying the game, he's more of the facilitator. Puffin's the only carry they have. Like, how are they going to do anything if Puffin isn't 1v9?
Or even if you're not, in some cases, not even getting 2 team fights, right? If you're playing these team fight champions and not getting to that 5v5, then what's the point of playing a champion?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk next about Eden's Blazing Stars.
Blazing Stars.
Eden's Blazing.
They're an interesting roster. They about have as many roster changes as GSG does,
which is a lot.
Well, like, not official roster changes, though, but, like, they have, like, different players play different roles, and which is something similar to what GSG has done. Like, I've been moving people around a lot, and it's based on who's playing better at what role and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Tactical moving. That's what we'll call it.
Tactical moving.
But, no. I hate people back in the jungle, something that he is good with. Like, support his other best role. if he stays in those two roles, I think they can exceed and do well. Rakan Stan, I think, has been a solid piece. I'm actually pull up player stats. This will help my case even better.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's find the team.
Yes, please buy time while I finish typing in the last formulas and actually calculate the odds. Yes, I'm doing this live.
The top Eden's player is ranked. God, they are far down this list. Hold on.
Yeah.
They are ranked 50. 50 is their first ranked player in terms of player stats.
And who is that?
And it is the AC. I
mean,
after that, 53 and then 56 would be Rakan Stan, and then I Hate People.
It's not that far-fetched, right? IBS is generally AD carry dominated. Playing 4 5v5s generally has AD carries be dominated, right? Like, that is what they are made to do in a lot of ways.
If you look at player stats, I kid you not, out of the top, I'm just going to say 30 people, it is probably 80% ADC in mid lane.
Yeah. Because
you have a couple supports the next highest, and then you have 2 or 3 jungles.
I think part of that comes down to how it's calculated in terms of raw score. It probably heavily favors things like kills
and/or damage, those two roles tend to do a lot of damage in 5v5s, right?
Yep.
That's that kind of that.
I will say everyone sucks because the highest rating is 52 out of 100.
Rating can be low and still be an effective tool, right? But it depends on how the rating is calculated, right?
I'm just joking.
Eden's Blazing Stars, I think, has a similar issue to Feed the Dream, right? Where you need to figure out how you're playing. I don't see this team having figured out, okay, this is what we're doing, this is how we're playing, this is what my job is. I don't think that the players on that team can sit there and go, this is what my job in the game is. And figuring that out is probably a key to them not only being a playoff team, but also being competitive in there, right? I think that brings us to our last team, right? GSG Psy, which I think is the most likely to make playoffs here with Subatomic Gaming Antimatter. I think GSG is a heavily favored fourth, right? Midmaster is doing fantastic, right? A lot of this comes down to, no offense, Arcs, but what the heck is your roster going to be?
I updated it.
I understand that you updated it, but this is part of the reason that Psy is so low. So for me, from my perspective, it's not the quality of players that need to change. It's also the same as the other teams, right? We're figuring out what people's jobs are, figuring out what you're playing towards, and how you're going to play things out is going to be the thing that is necessary for Psy to make it here. Because if you lose some more games, another team is going to make it through.
So here's the thing. I believe playoffs is down to Eden or GSG Psy for fourth. I don't think any other team has a chance unless they completely just blow out of the water, lose the rest of their games. It comes down to who wins between Eden Stars and GSG in week 6.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible.
I kid you not. Because if GSG wins the next 2 games, they qualify automatically.
Yeah.
If Eden beats GSG and GSG loses to them and TD Syndicate, Eden will make it.
Right. No, I think that just given the strength of players, given the strength of understanding of the roster, right, that it is the most likely situation for GSG Psy to end up fourth here.
But can't count anyone out yet.
No, we can't count anybody out.
Eliminated.
Nobody has been. Well, 2 teams have functionally been eliminated, and 4 teams have functionally made playoffs, right? Which is an interesting part of this format, right? 7 teams, 6 games, right?
Yeah. And Glacial could just make a roster change this week, and it somehow just stabilizes the entire roster.
It's absolutely possible. Absolutely possible. They need to hit 3-3 and 3 other teams need to be 2-4. That's what needs to happen there, just because of points.
Yeah,
it's possible.
It is possible.
Unlikely,
it's possible. But it's possible. You got those stats, Bickle.
I am loading up the last 3 columns. It's just a giant ass sheet that takes forever.
So we're gonna sit here and go, okay, so arcs.
What are your guys' predictions for who are going to take these final?
That's exactly what
spots?
I was gonna say. But arcs, you can't say GSG side in zone.
Then it would be Eden.
Then it would be Subatomic Gaming and Eden.
It would be Eden.
Well, the only 2 of the spots there's still 2 spots, right? Only the only 2 that are clinched are Tenebris Esports Aeon and TD Syndicate, right? Those are the clinched spots.
So Subatomic plays Glacial. They play TE Aeon, which could be a close game.
Right.
I think that one will actually be really close. And then they also play Feed the Dream this week. So, going by strength of schedule, I think SG just will make it. I think SG has a very strong jungle, which is a complete 180 of what Chubby does.
Right.
I think that they also... Let me go back to the roster, because, I can't hit buttons, apparently.
Buttons are hard to hit.
They're
also hard to button, too.
Yeah. And I said this a second ago, I think they have the best mid laners in the entire division.
Yeah.
I think Puffin, Midmaster, Jack, Lemonsap are all easily top 6-7 mid laners out of the entire league.
Oh, yeah. And I think Junk Sleep is being slept on, which is part of his name, but...
Junk Sleep, I didn't get to watch the TE series, so I don't know how well he is.
I mean... schedule or not, right? They are doing great. Really, 4-0 at this point, they are doing great, legitimately. I think for me, just not having team affiliation, I think the 2 most likely ones here are Subatomic Gaming, Antimatter, and GSG side. I think that's our 3rd, 4th. I don't think that it's particularly tense between them. Bickle, would you like to weigh in here?
I would if this column would load properly. But prediction-wise, before I see the math, I think it is GSG size to lose. I think they have looked better ever since they have started making their roster changes. So I think that's a solid thing. Kingler's looked like a phenomenal AD carry from what I've seen, and I look forward to what he can continue to do in the future. I do think Eden's could give them a run for their money. They have a really strong mid-jungle, in my opinion. Then again, all of Zon has really strong mids and jungles, it feels like. So that's honestly really exciting to see what happens there.
Oh, hold on. Don't get ahead of yourself. GSG Sai, we're still working on the jungle position.
Let me give you credit while I can.
I personally think the weakest positions on GSG Sai are top jungle. I think mid ADC support is really strong. The reason I made the roster change and put Cream Cheese jungle is because
I'm just going to start calling it Colonel Knight, and only 2 people will get that. Okay.
Colonel Knight.
All right, Colonel. Over here in this Piltover place.
Yeah, Piltover? Easily. Let's go.
So you've got Sunset Ravens and Revolution X having clinched. Although Sunset Ravens might not technically be clinched, but it's close enough.
They're pretty damn close.
The worst they can get is 3-3.
So hear me out.
Okay.
I'm going to go for a hot take real quick.
What's your hot take?
I think that 2 of the teams between Wooper, Revolution, and Hyperion will make playoffs.
That's spicy. Straight out of the frying
pan. You think GSG drops?
I think that Week 7's GSG Iota and Anarchy will confirm 1 playoff and take 1 out.
Okay.
Really?
because GSG Iota plays Revolution X. They do play Anarchy, but let's say they beat Iconic, they'll be 3-1. There's the chance that Wooper, Hyperion, and Anarchy, 2 of them could pop up with 3 wins. Correct.
Yes.
It is still possible for any of those teams to be 4-2.
So if a Revolution Anarchy does not 2-0 the next 2 weeks, and they win one and lose one, and depending on which also ends up coming down, so also that Hyperion and Wooper matchup.
So, to sum it all
up,
I
think that week 7 will confirm literally those playoff spots, and I am going to.
Who gets them? Who gets the 2? Who gets the 2 spots?
It's like I gotta look at these rosters a little bit more. Because
it's hard. That's the thing. It's
extremely hard,
especially in Piltover, right? Like it is.
I would say Wooper gets 1.
Okay.
I've been on the Wooper train all season, and I'm just going to stick with it.
Well, today is not Wooper Wednesday, but this will be viewable on Wooper Wednesday, so that's good.
Exactly.
Oh dear God.
I am going to say Anarchy gets to the other spot.
So Anarchy and Wooper. So Iota,
yeah,
Hyperion Galaxy, and Iconic do not make it.
Correct.
Bickle's data says it is Iota and Wooper.
I will take the hot take.
Yes. Statistically speaking, that is the most likely outcome.
All right. in the same rules, I cannot pick Anarchy. I can't. Couldn't let Colonel over here pick GSG Psi. I can't pick Revolution Anarchy, right? I think that now, being the biased person that I am, right, of the 3 games that that Anarchy has played, 2 of them are against the top 2 teams in this division. Mm-hmm. The one that they played against the other team is anyway. Iota and Wooper. If it can't be Anarchy, I think it's Iota and Wooper. I think that there's a little too much for Hyperion Galaxy to overcome to make it into that spot.
It's so close because of the fact of that week 7 matchups. It is so close.
It could very well come down to week 7. This is not going to be something that, unless one team has a major collapse, that it's going to be figured out anytime soon. With this Piltover is probably going to be down to the wire.
I think both could be down to the wire a little bit. Like we mentioned, the fact that it could come down to that GSG Eden's Blazing Stars game.
It absolutely
in the zone.
Yeah, it absolutely can.
Even if we're looking at points, there's literally a 2-point difference between 5th and 3rd.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Hyperion's not that far behind. They're 5 points behind.
There is...
And if
quite
2-2-0s,
realistically, in both groups, right? We can talk and say that we feel that Piltover is stronger because I genuinely do believe that. Now, we know that this was all random. They did this live. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to make the group of death and we're going to make the group of nobodies. Yeah, we're BOL. That did not happen at all, right? It was completely random. There was no weighting to the roles or anything, right? So, while we can sit there and from the pundit seats go, well, Piltover probably is the stronger one, and but on both sides here, there are teams that are deserving of a playoff spot that are not going to make playoffs. It just is. That's just the reality, right?
There are a lot of good teams here. I think it's a very strong initial IBS season.
It absolutely is, and I mean this sincerely when I say that. At week 4, I'm still saying that this might be the most competitive IBS league ever. We don't even so far, our top teams, probably only Syndicate is the one that is sitting here going, we are above everybody else. It's not like we have have this category of these are the teams that are going to be winning, and we're here. We don't know what's going to happen with Syndicate. I think Syndicate is the favorite to make it all the way to the end and win, right? But there is competition. It's not like this is a foregone conclusion. It's not like we're sitting here wondering, oh, will Syndicate fuck up? There's many teams here that have the ability in the.
Based on Syndicate's form, it's hard not to put them as like the favorite.
Absolutely.
You can make an argument, and people are like, yes, okay. But if you say, yeah, it's going to be Syndicate, people are going to be like, yeah, okay, that's not a hot take whatsoever. That's the coldest take there is.
My point is more that we've got 3 weeks left of the regular season, right? There's 3 weeks of playoffs, right? In 6 weeks, there are teams that could grow and figure things out to be able to challenge Syndicate for that title. But I think that it would be a really big upset to not see Syndicate in that finals match.
Agreed.
I've seen stranger things happen, but I think with that, unless Bickle, you've got some stats, I think that's where we're going to call it today.
All right, let me type in one last thing, and provided this doesn't crash my computer, we shall be good to go.
I will make a claim, Mark, real quick, that our takes are not meant to flame anybody.
No, they are. They absolutely are. This is 100%. Absolutely beyond any shadow of a doubt.
This is all personal vendettas.
Personal vendettas where we are perpetuating bias and absolute discrimination against people. That's what this is for. Certainly,
my math is not math at all. It's just all my personal opinions. If I don't say you're going to make it, that means I hate you.
Obviously. That's the only way it is. No, we do this because it's fun, and it's fun to talk about. Like, I enjoy talking about this shit a lot. And it's fun to do it with other people and happen to record it, right? That's all this is. This is all speculation. If we were this amazing analysts, we'd be working for the LCS.
I think LCS, not going to lie, has one of the best production teams.
I mean, it doesn't help that the teams make it boring as sin, but that's...
Yeah, but I think Flowers is literally one of the best.
Flowers came out of the amateur scene back in the day.
Like, I think he's.
You can ask Bully about it. Bully was, I believe, around at that time, but this is pre-compete league stuff where Captain Flowers was doing it. And there's been a couple people over time from different places, like Nigleria, Nigleria, that's his name. Over in the LEC, he started in a place called Learning Fives. And then he got the chance to go over to cast LPL, and then now they've got him on LEC. So, like, there are many people who have made that transition to being a full-time caster through the amateur scene.
Absolutely. I work with one of them right now on a separate podcast. Kangas, he hosts Academy.
Nice.
I do a podcast with him weekly about professional LEC and LCS.
Nice.
Phenomenal guy.
That's awesome.
Wonderful person.
No wonder Bickle knows so much.
Bickle's just smart.
I have way too much free time.
Bickle's sitting in a classroom, a couple days a week.
I mean, I sit here there thinking about this stuff at work, so I completely get it. But I think with that, we are going to sign off for the evening. I know Bickle will share his information once he gets his information.
Yeah, I'll stick it in general chat afterwards.
Yep. Alrighty. Y'all have a wonderful evening, and hope you have good luck in your Week 5 BOL games.